بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أسعد الله مساءكم وظهيرتكم باليمن والخير والبركة.
Such important day, of course, as for the TV seminars from the headquarters of the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property in Riyadh. We broadcast in both English and Arabic and live. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers and distinguished viewers. Of course, would like to refer to all the accounts of the social media of the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property social media websites, of course, and welcome to those who are going to join us or who are joining us, and even those who will watch us later on. The channel is open for the comments as well for the future requirements as regards the contents of this, the subject matter of this, because you are partners, and of course the responsibility of sticking to intellectual property is not the responsibility of the Saudi Authority, but of course we are all in one boat, on one ship as well. Why? Because you are the cornerstone for respecting the intellectual property. On behalf of all of you, welcome our guests as well, at the head of which comes the CEO of the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property, Dr. Abdul Aziz bin Mohammed Al Swalim. Doctor, good afternoon, of course, and thank you very much for having you with us today. Thank you very much, and thank you. In the first session, of course, we are shared by Mr. Yasser, who is responsible for the intellectual property respective. And good afternoon, and my colleague as well as for the enablement, Miss CEO of the Intellectual Property Enablement, Noura Al Amari. Good afternoon. Of course, you are the cornerstone. You have to take this into account, of course, now. So you need to be very patient. And later on, we will have Ms. Haifa Al-Fadl, specialist in intellectual property of Saudi Aramco, Mr. Abdullah Al-Ghamdi, lawyer, Abdullah Abdul Salam Al-Ghamdi, law firm as well. In all cases, as regards to intellectual property, we'll have a lot of questions that we're going to raise today on this important occasion as well. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for having you with us, Ms. Haifa Al-Fadl, specialist of intellectual property, Saudi Aramco. Thank you very much, Ms. Haifa, for having you with us. Of course, Mr. Majid as well is going to join us in this session. Of course, the head of department of the biotechnology of the General Secretariat of the GCC Patent Office, and of course. And of course, at the end of the day, of course, we have a very great participation as well, as regards the roles of the decision makers, of course. So try to be patient, because you are at the head of the intellectual property, authority. So we have, of course, other specialists who have voices to give and to show and to utter as well. Doctor, of course, let me start with you. First of all, of course, nothing's going to be as great as your speech. Doctor, please. In the name of Allah, most compassion, God's peace and blessing be upon our Prophet Muhammad. Thank you very much for you. Thanks very much. I'm very happy to have our colleagues with us, and this, in addition to the viewers, dear viewers, distinguished viewers, of course, of this important session as well. And I'd like to support what you have said today. And we are responsible for the implementation and enablement, along with our partners as well, in this important Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property, locally and regional as well, with our crowds and our audience. We are here for actually meeting the expectations of our audience to achieve the goals, the joint goals, the common goals, on the level of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and to carry out what the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is looking for, aspiring to achieve as well, according to the vision of the leaders of this great country. Yeah, I agree with you that having a meeting today, or a conference or a seminar based on the intellectual property, of course, we would like to say that, and then we want to focus on this important issue as well, is that, the violation of intellectual property, is that ignorant or intentional? It's very important to raise this question. Of course, we need to answer these critical questions. We need to hear from others. We want to know exactly is that ignorant or intentional as well? Within our responsibility, the commitment in the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property, we have to make sure if it is intentional, we need to reduce, or to reduce ignorance, and to belittle the ignorance. Of course, this is going to be a sign of success of the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property and its partners well to achieve its goals and aspirations as well. I had no secret that the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property have a number of complaints and a number of inquiries in so many related issues as well. I apologize. I'm apologize for if I delay you for 2 minutes. So now, and the main cause is one of the clients that he insisting that has rights to be protected, and these rights to be protected by this person, by client, cannot be applied according to the laws of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia or even worldwide. So how can we belittle? How can we reduce the levels of mitigate the levels of ignorance and to stop the violation of the intellectual property? This is a very integrated system infrastructure as well, and praise be to God, we are showing great concern as regards this issue as well, so as to provide great benefits to the users and beneficiaries, and to add great value to the community as well, and through our system regulations and protection measures and procedures, in addition to the other implementation departments that really will achieve the enablement and reduce the violation of intellectual property through respecting intellectual property as well. So now, Doctor, how you enable, how does the Saudi authority enable the intellectual property? To what extent can we find this relationship? I always say to our colleagues that really we have two wings and we have arms to implement the vision or the great goals as well, through generation and use and balance, through respecting all the documents, all regulation as well. If the Saudi authority has issued a document of the intellectual property, this means that the person who has got this document, and he has done enough effort, tangible effort, so as to take this into consideration, this document has to be protected. And exactly as if you have actually a document of ownership or property of a land, so this will never allow others so as to build in the property that does not belong to us. Without this document, of course, nothing is going to be carried out, nothing can be done so as to stop the violation of the documents. So that's the reason why we ask our colleagues, we want to enhance the use and the generation as well of the intellectual property in balance. In balance, if we don't have any balanced arms that will guarantee that there is a respect of the intellectual property or the document. This is very important question, Doctor. We want to get in. Today, the Saudi authority has a role to be understood. So, of course, the Saudi authority must communicate with the rest of the community, even the international community. And it's a long road. So, but the most important question: where does the Saudi authority lie as regards, or situated as regards the intellectual property? How it enhances, how it raises the awareness of the intellectual property, how to stop the violation, being very responsible for all of these commitments. Of course, no, we are in the middle. When there are two lines, we're all in the middle, because the Saudi authority is between the owners, the copyright owners, and their protection, and the community to be protected against any additional protection that is not needed. So we are in the middle between the producer of the intellectual property and the investor of the intellectual property in a very positive way, because we are in the middle between the related entities to examine the applications and the applicants as well, in addition to guaranteeing all better application of all the international standards and indications within international standards. So the Saudi authority stands in between these two ends as well, so as to guarantee this balance. Of course, sometimes the violation takes place when you are with one end against the other as well. When the Saudi authority is on the side of the party that facilitates granting the licenses or certificates without any consideration of the rights of the community, which will result in the intellectual property rights as well. This is what we are doing in the Saudi authority as well, with all its departments, all its sections, so as to make sure that the applicants will take their rights, and they receive the rights. The community has the right to express their opinions as regards to these applications through publishing in specific in the related magazines, and to guarantee that there is a commitment, a proper commitment of the intellectual property and its protection as well. That's the reason why I'm sure that there is no other person in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia who is not either a generator or a user as well. Now, for the time being, as for the status quo, we do our great job as regards to this. And now, within the available minutes, and so the one last question, of course. Today, Dr. Abdulaziz, who is the CEO of the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property, the Kingdom of Saudi, but to what extent he regards the violation of the intellectual property? Could you elaborate on a violation, a crime, any logo, any to what extent you see the volume of the violation of the intellectual property? Let me say something for the my colleagues might be disagreeing with me, but of course, either if it is either ignorant or intentional, it's the same result. Of course, violation is violation, either ignorant or intentional as well. So once again, I get back to the beginnings. We want to stop the violation, and we decrease or reduce the violation and the ignorance as well. So we want to raise the awareness of the next generations. Our responsibility lies in reducing ignorance, and the result is one, either ignorant or intentional. Of course, perhaps in our procedures as regards dealing with the judicial authorities as well. So the system is different, or the methodology is different. So we might have different way, different manner. If it is a corporate, if this individual or retailer, the volume of the impact on the copyright owner, intentional or ignorant, all of these things are considered so as to evaluate the volume of the violation. It's either ignorant or intentional. So the result is one. The result is one in all cases. We want to stop violation. We want to halt violations. We want to know the causes, the reasons, and deal with these reasons as well, and to stop the violation by the end of the day. That's the main goal. So we want to talk about the forged or counterfeit products as well, and enablement. So Doctor, please, after this break, of course, with our viewers as well, so watch this, all of these things, of course, as regards the violation of the intellectual property. Join us after the break. Once again, welcome back. Welcome again to most of the people that truly who joined us. We are still in the first session of the virtual seminar, a violation of the intellectual property, ignorant or intention. This is the big question we're going to answer, of course, through a number of topics from the headquarters of the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property, of course, in Riyadh, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Of course, welcome back again for most of the people that truly who joined from our audience and our viewers, of course. Now we'll open the floor for more questions in the social media and accounts of the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property. Of course, we're gonna answer all the questions, meeting your expectations as well. We have specialists as regards to intellectual property. Once again, welcome Ms. Noura Al Ammari, the CEO of the Intellectual Property Enablement. Once again, welcome.
اعتقد في اسئله كثيره اليوم استاذ عبد الله، لازم يعني انت والاستاذ هيثم ايضا يعني تكون عارف على الدعوه وتكون اليوم يعني مساحه متسعه لكل من سيسال. ابدا معك استاذ نوره.
We'll start with you, Ms. Noura Al Ammari. The Intellectual Property Enablement Department. A lot of audience doesn't expect that a lot of departments stands on government. We want to know what are the services you provide in your department. Thank you for organizing this seminar. The enablement of intellectual property is a huge sign in intellectual property, and the connection between who sees that intellectual property respect and transfer it to the audience into a professional way. To enable the intellectual property rights, we provided a lot of services. There is no product that all products which are creative or initiative, all intellectual property touches the creative side.
Of course, we can actually to extract the benefit lesson from the regulation, of course, and efficiently and effectively addition to the other guidelines, the guidance rights as well that are needed by the number of establishment in addition to the corporate. And it's a translation of the respecting of intellectual property, of course. And this is a very important question, of course, to what extent we have this intersection, of course, is that in the field, after the field, of course, in all fields, in all domains, in all the fields, of course, is generating the intellectual property, of course, just recognition of the person, of his respect of the regulations as regards to intellectual property, and choosing the best way and the legal procedure, of course, and so as to litigate, for the litigation and for legalization of such procedures and in compliance with the regulations of the kingdom, of course. There must be a system that is based on the respect of intellectual property, respected by all the persons of the to respect the international property, of course. And so sometimes. So my question, the passion that we have in this, that we can see in the spirit of Saudi Arabia through the empowerment and implement of the Kingdom of Saudi. What are the indications and the indicators that you are observing and the Saudi Authority that you are monitoring and which are going to be focused within the future? Of course, we have a number of indicators that can summarize, of course, the interest, the concentration of the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property as well, the number of assets, in addition to the number of the generated assets of the intellectual property properties and the accessibility of the clients as well. The level of awareness of intellectual properties in regards to consultation related services, in addition to the need of the ecosystem. And we were talking about SMEs. We talk about big corporate. So this communication, very large communication and very intensive with the systems, all to understand the needs of and the tools that will help them to use and generate as well, enabling us to translate them into the service of the Saudi authority and its product as well. I think that this is a great success, and this is the most important commitment that we are providing to the Saudi authority customers and clients as well. Many people ask us how to communicate with them. How do you communicate with them? Of course, I will take a question from Mr. Yes as well. As long as you are talking about the clients, as for the consultations, and I want you to elaborate on the consultation as well. So after getting back to Mr. Yasser, of course, in the respect departments, well, on the occasion, this is a very important title, a very important term and description as well. Means that when you say that there is respect for the interaction, as for the inspection committees, sometimes they have different procedures and measures as well, and people sometimes don't feel friendly with the inspection related measures. They cannot tell me that really I'm going to start an inspection campaign or inspection procedures, and they will respect you, or just they will be friendly with you. Of course, the question in simple way, people think today that I'm not forced to pay a sum of money so as to finish. I want to make everything setting and pretty. How can you evaluate the impact of this measure on the long term as regards the national economy of Saudi Arabia? And well, I would like to extend my appreciation to most of the organizers of this seminar, and this is a great arrangement, and I hope that this benefit will be very prevailing, and we'd like to seek more cooperation. Abu Tamim, you have tackled a very important topic that most of the people are considering right now, and many people think that using or having a counterfeit products, either products or using programs or movies or through illegal channels is going to be useful for them, or it has a benefit for them as consumption of the individual. And that the extra protection of the intellectual property will actually give much value to the local companies and the international companies as well. But in this regard, we want to clarify to most of the people that if we move from the partial level to the whole level, taking into consideration, for instance, watching movies from the internet sites, and that we watch movies free, for instance, and we want to know the impact of this behavior on the individual, and as a journey, and to what extent this and on the gross economy. And as you know, there is a sector investing in the cinema business, and this sector invests in such activity through using the local content, real estate recruitment, using the other available services, and these things are the things that have been spent in this sector, and there will be a return on the long run as for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that will result in a negative result in its sales. So will be loss of jobs, loss of economy. That situation is not satisfactory. So the topic is very important. In America, in the United States of America, for instance, $40 million loss come from $40 million US. This is the total value of the loss in this regard as a result of the violation of the intellectual property. We see losses. We see even on the overall level, but as for the individual or the partial level, it might be very free. The movie might be free, but the quality is low, and it wouldn't be very enough so as to live a true experience And now, when you're talking, if I am violating the intellectual property, it might be a cause that a family member will lose a job because of the lack of income. So this is a great example. Why? Because the expansion that we can see in all the regions of Kingdom Surgery, however, the things are not well covered because there is the lack of respect of intellectual property will lead to loss of jobs, and this is a very important dimension. And I would like to sometimes you are preventing some of the electronic illegal websites. How many websites you prevented and you banned? Our work is continuous. Our work in this regard is continuous. We are banning the illegal websites, of course, but for the time being, 300 electronic websites have been banned, in addition to 50 applications that have been banned, such as the applications that violate the intellectual property rights as well, which have been banned. Now, today, our guests, we have a lot of questions, but Ms. Haifa, on the occasion of this virtual seminar, and Mr. Abdullah, now you are our guests here at the headquarters of the Saudi Authority, which is the house for all. And of course, we are going to, when the preventive measures are relieved or are mitigated, of course, we will see big participation. And Ms. Haifa, I will start with you. In Saudi Aramco, we take the Saudi Aramco as a great Saudi journey of success, and there are a number of sectors they are in the bad need of intellectual property as well. Many people say that the share of Aramco is always higher, but they don't know that really the return is based on respecting the intellectual property, actually giving value to the intellectual property assets as well. Of course, we'd like to hear from you as regards the journey of success of Saudi Aramco as well. You, along with Ms. Haifa as well, being specialized in the intellectual property, we want its international success journey and story, of course, in the world, the international level.
سعيدة جدا بانضمامي معكم
Oh,
في
the
هذا
sound
اليوم.
is. We don't hear
وبالطبع
the sound.
يعني أود أن أشكر
Hello.
الهيئة السعودية للملكية الفكرية لإتاحة هذه الفرصة ولاهتمامها بموضوع الملكية الفكرية وتعزيز التوعية والحرص على لفت انتباه العامة للانتهاكات السلبية التي
That's right. Yes. Now, what we try to do to exert tangible efforts is to stop the violation of the intellectual property in Saudi Aramco. Saudi Aramco is very great company and is doing a great job in addition as regards to exporting oil, gas and oil, and but at the same time, for the importance of encouraging patents, inventive patent, of course, and it has established a department so as to work with the inventor from the beginning, from the early steps to examine his patent, so as to enable him, empower him, to empower the inventor, and then moves uh, to to the application, to those who are responsible for applying so as to work with the inventor, so as to write and publish their patent as well in a very legal and in confidential way, and at the same time to register it in the patent office as well. So later on, we commercialize for the intellectual property, and we commercialize a number of patents by Saudi Aramco. This department is specialized in working closer with the inventor and with the local inventors in international inventors as well. So the international companies will provide a number of opportunities to develop this idea as well. This idea is just like it's just a license, a simple license that might result in millions to the companies and will guarantee keeping the lives of people based on security and safety as well. It might be a cause to open the door for new companies and business as well. And this is one of the most important aspects that we take into consideration as well. We establish the company to produce this product and to maintain the pipes of oil pipes, and this company will open numerous job opportunities, so as to open new markets as well. Of course, all the violations that took place that actually cost us a number of losses of jobs as well. And so the most important thing that we focus on the capital, human capital. So why? Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm always repeating these words. And the big problem that we're facing with inventors that comes from the passion and the enthusiasm of the inventors as well. We might talk about the companies that make this technology so as to commercialize the ideas. So here he might loses the mechanism as well. So we always raise the awareness of the inventors, telling them that if you have an idea, we sign contracts and agreement with lawyers as well, so as to guarantee the rights of the inventor before getting into the market or the international markets at the beginning of the application. So I might ask a question which is focused on the title. The title: violation of intellectual property. Is it ignorant or intellectual, intentional? And this topic or this issue as well is very flexible. It's very flexible. And if we're talking about the famous trademarks, and certainly I don't want to say that it's intentional, so as to imitate or to have counterfeit products, but it's an ignorance of the violation or the penalties and the fines for those who commit these counterfeit products as well, or trademarks. But the ignorance comes from the lack of awareness based on the daily practices. I can say, for instance, a very simple question: the hashtag. Most today, for example, in any tweets or any Instagram page, and if he uses the hashtag marker so as to increase of the followers, increase the number of followers. Of course, the simple hashtag will cost the user millions and millions as a result of finding him in one of the Instagram pages. A company has sold a new product, and during the tweets and the hashtags, printed a very famous trademark specialized in but it's not the official seller. So this company has been fined, and its page has been banned as well, and have been stopped. Why? Because if the purchaser or the consumer might think that these sales, even if they are not coming through a trademark, worldwide trademark, but might be supporting it. So so this is going to be the misuse of the reputation of the company as for the trademarks, even if it's going to be very costly for these companies. Thank you very much, Ms. Haifa as well. Mr. Abdullah, I move to you, talking about all the cases, the legal cases and the law cases as regards the intellectual property violations. Though the Saudi authority receives a number of questions as regards the cases related to intellectual property, asking where the law offices are located, and sometimes people mix between the law firms as regards the settling the disputes in intellectual property. Let's talk about the cases. From your experience, you passed by a number of cases as well. So some cases might not be said publicly or verbally, but you can tell us some of these cases as well that can be shown. Do you hear me now? We don't hear you, sir. Yeah, you might solve this technical problem. Well, I can get back to our guests here, and of course, until you fix the sound. And I will get back to you, Ms. Noura, as regards to the stores in Saudi Arabia, of course, and how people communicate with you as regards to the services that you've mentioned, such to benefit from. Of course, I'm very happy and very glad, for example, as for the additions that have been given by Ms. Haifa, referring to the preserving the assets of the intellectual property, either in patents or what forms of intellectual property that generated jobs. This respect and improving these patents as well in the regular ways will will guarantee, and to the investor, to the inventor, to the investor, to the businessman, into this SMEs, will guarantee benefiting from the rights of, and thereby this will lead to respect of intellectual property, referring all of these things to the judiciary as well, and at the same time summarizing all of them and creating a new jobs as well. So the wheel of invention, the wheel of patents will continue, and this will be accompanied with a number of inventions, a number of patents, a number of technologies, a number of the creative products as well, if they are not preserved. So the development of a growth will stop as well if we are not keeping and preserving all of these rights as well. This will be intentional. The violation will be intentional as a rise of ignorance as well. So that's the reason why for the last couple of years, of course, we have been working for saving a number of solutions, providing a number of solutions according to the problems within each different levels as well, and in all the on the intellectual property and most of the related entities as well. So reaching all the related entities that are working on intellectual property. This is a collaborative work with the system of the Saudi authority. The Saudi authority does not working in an isolated way or away from others. So we integrated with all our partners in other entities as well, so as to provide services. Now we have centers for intellectual property services based on providing consultations, technical, and all of them are very free services, and they are available remotely and virtually, where we can be guided to all the needs and all the procedures. They are based on free services as well, and we are actually doing our best to integrate with all the other government entities as well, as to build capacities in these entities as well at the same time, such as this national network for encouraging the intellectual property. We have a relationship with more than 33 related entities, and we have collaborations exceeding 180 applications. The number of the organizing entities exceeded 30 entities, virtual centers, virtual 33, more than 30, so as to achieve integration with all related entities as well through these centers. Yes, you mean that really you're integrating so as to reach a good level, so as to build capacities that will enable the respect of intellectual property, it will enable generating the intellectual property, and at the same time provide the continuation and sustainability of intellectual property. As for the consultation clinics, and exceeded 800 users, and in 1 year, just like in 1 year. So we invite all to benefit from this available services through our website, the website of the Saudi authorities, and all the big numbers that have been provided offline, online, of course, in integration with our partners as well, and based on evaluating the needs as well. So that means that Chile, you are still in the first step for the owner of the idea, of the owner of the patent. So you are so that you can protect, of course, the business, and then you have to make sure that Chile's business is protected. And so we are always having this type of experience, of course, at the Saudi authority. Those people who are always late in preserving and keeping the rights as well. So yesterday, for instance, they were talking about a year and a half, and he did not expect that his business will be delayed. So when he came to the Saudi authority as well, he said that this trademark is available, and he came in negotiations with the owner of this trademark. So this is one of the problems that we are facing as well. And what is the message you can send to all of our viewers now? At the beginning, at the early steps, I have a budget. I want us to have a startup, and I want to know who is responsible for the intellectual property. What's the most important message to the viewers? The most important intellectual property message that it is management of strategy. It's planning, strategic planning policy. How can you invest, first of all, of course, how to determine the assets that you have, if you have from the business from the beginning, and what the plan you're going to follow so as to develop your assets. Well, you might have a business within a very limited budget, within a limited trademark, and to make sure that your business is stable, and you have to have the registration of the trademark within a specific period of time, so as not to face problems after upsizing the business, to avoid the violation from some other people who might use your trademark. So that's not a strategic choice. So the owner of the trademark might come into changing his trademark, and this is going to be a loss for the owner of the business as well. So most of the questions that come to us at the Saudi authority, there is a vision for intellectual property or the product from from one side, sometimes he thinks that this is a patent only, so he gets surprised, is surprised by the number of assets that will result in the products that he's making. So it might be a copyright or author rights, might be a trademark, it might be a trademark with a patent. A patent might be an industrial product, and with a patent, well, how can I guarantee this sustainability of protecting this? Can achieve the sustainability of this protection? I have a cycle of the product. All of these strategic resolution must be considered, and the intellectual property plays an important role in this. So, Mr. Abdullah, for example, I hope that the sound technical problem has been solved. Mr. Abdullah, do you hear me? Mr. Abdullah, do you hear me? We see you, but your voice is not clear. The picture is amazing. However, the voice. So we're gonna actually use this sign language. So until now, I didn't have any connection with the sound, of course. Now we can send you a written or a read question, of course. We have two main topics as well. Now we get back to Mr. Yasser Debassi. Mr. Yasser Day. I want to respect the intellectual property, but of course, I'm not forced to get something very costly as well. This is the concept that the Saudi authority has launched a number of campaigns focusing on some of the sports products, focusing on the T-shirts of football clubs and like Al Hilal, for instance. But of course, so now sometimes I can buy it in another place with very low price. Does this story apply to all the products? Today we have a lot of commitments as well, and I cannot actually afford buying a very costly shirt. So I want to help people, as this is a correct vision, a correct opinion. What are other options if it's not correct? When we are going to determine, of course, the options for the user, for consumers, as regards the resolutions, decisions of his purchasing choices in products such as services or consumption-based products. I give you an example. Such as the of sportswear, for instance, sportswear. And are we obliged to buy, for instance, if there is an original shirt, for instance, T-shirt, which is very costly. This is governed by or controlled by a number of things, such as the purchasability, in addition to other reasons or as a cost as well. So we are keen in our approach to in the intellectual property respect and in related issues to provide alternative options, the right alternative options. In other words, if there is a product as like sportswear, for instance, there must be we provide options. That could be less in quality, but with a good quality level, but less price, and without any kind of violations or without any harmful consequences of using such products. So we don't want to connect with the counterfeit is less, and that's all. But sometimes this results in health related problems, security related problems. Might be problems coming from the activities. Sometimes they can give you example for this. For instance, we found out that some of the practices that we can see right now being conducted, like those expatriates working expatriates. The forge and counterfeit the T-shirts, these sports T-shirts, and we don't know the ingredients or the materials of making such a product as well. What about do these materials cause hazard or unhealthy problems, and in case of using them or consuming them? And of course, there hasn't been any procedures followed as regards safety and safety and security procedures and the manufacturing process. Well, in addition to other products of other sports clubs, we have another example. There's a company, Zenist Act. It's related to do programs of cars sectors. It provides certain programs for cars, and that help drive the cars. There were practices. Some of the maintenance centers, they actually they buy forged software programs and less prices, but this actually has resulted in a number of accidents affecting the as a result of using such illegal or counterfeit products or software programs. So, for instance, now BMW has announced before that that the Apple Play and Apple Play car Apple Play must be through a legal distributor, a legal agency, or official agency, or through a guarantee. And BMW, these are the cars of BMW. You can measure, you can take other examples along with this. So now, because the idea is not does not take a counterfeit product, which is less in price, but there are many consequences that will result in such a counterfeit product. So might affect the performance of the car and the and the safety of the car, the maintenance of the car. So in the at the Saudi Authority of Intellectual Property, we are keen to consider all the options and the alternatives so as to enable the community so as to be protected and to go to proper channels and legal channels as well. So, but I know that you have and that you have a lot of responsibilities and commitments as well. We ask Allah to help you, of course, because of the pressure that is over your shoulders, and every year, but that we know that you really have a lot of commitments, a lot of responsibilities. May Allah help you. But I really want to cooperate with you. I want to communicate with you. I want to enhance the respect of the intellectual property. It's not justification. I want to call it a partnership with the community. How can I communicate with you? Of course, the concept of the execution or implementation of intellectual property and monitoring and control at the Saudi Authority. Of course, we cannot meet all the challenges. We cannot fight or confront all the challenges. That's the reason why we need the collaboration. We need the partnership with the private sector, along with the community, through partnerships, through consultation, through for the reporting, through informal reporting, and actually monitoring all the data information that will be very effective and will be that will help us so as to implement all our procedures against the violation of intellectual property through the electronic website or our website or through the official channels of the intellectual property Saudi Authority, and we will work on a special application as for the reporting, and that will be launched within the coming few days. Thank you very much, Mr. Yasser, as well. God willing, of course, we hope that Mr. Abdullah hears us. And Mr. Abdullah, good afternoon. Good afternoon. You see, it's still the problems there. Mr. Abdullah, please go ahead. Now I have a lot of questions. I don't believe that there are 10 minutes as well. So, of course, they're very important questions. Of course, most of the questions are very important. Mr. Abdullah. Yeah, Mr. Abdullah, we apologize. I would like to extend my appreciation to the Saudi Authority represented and Dr. Abdul Aziz Al Swaylam for giving me this opportunity and having this a great time so as to add value and to create value, because we are all partners. God willing, we're going to provide the true value to the community, and at the same time we're very close to work with all of you, and we thank you very much for having this opportunity with you in this virtual seminar. I would like to focus on something that has been mentioned by His Excellency Dr. the CEO. The violation is violation. Violation is violation, and this is a very important term. This is important, of course. And as long as the seminar is covering the theme of violation, ignorant or intentional. So the whole topic, regardless of being ignorant or intentional, it's the first place of violation. It's a violation, and of course, as we said before, as based on the 38 of the statute, and there is no crime, no penalty without a tax, without a legal tax, and the regulation that protects the individuals and the persons and the citizens and protecting their rights as well. That's the reason here we see that the regulator put the regulations and the laws as well. So all the individuals, all the citizens must follow these regulations and apply these regulations to protect their rights and interests as well. As regards as regards the penalties, inabilities, and the penalties and sanctions, and the Saudi authority uh, has mentioned such penalty, of course, either through the system of the trademarks or within the intellectual property framework, or the patents, or electronic products, or the copyrights as well. All are seen intellectual property within the rights of the person, the right of the individual. So all of these rights are based were put to protect the persons, to protect their inventions, patents, and their works, and all the laws, all the regulations that have been made as well will allow so as to mitigate the violation of intellectual property. If there is a person violated the right of the intellectual property of another person, here, for instance, the 42 article as regards the trademark regulations in the GCC mentioned that any person has violated the trademark, and here the regulator mentioned that the misuse, the misintention means in bad faith, and in bad faith has been clarified in the article 42 that the penalty then and the penalty will be actually a focus on the violation of the intellectual property that is going to be punished and sanctions for imprisonment of 1 month and will not exceed 3 years. Every person has violated, has forged a trademark, or has used or misused a trademark in an illegal way. Mr. Abdullah, thank you very much, of course. Now, before I come to the conclusion of this session, of course, I would like to take a message from you, final message in here in 2 minutes, and we'll give 1 minute to each guest that will come to the conclusion, to a message before the conclusion, of course. A message to our dear viewers, the males and females, of course. And I advise everybody, I advise the inventors and users or user patents or owners of patents, first of all, to respect the intellectual property, to regard highly the intellectual property, to raise the awareness to all, either members or other persons as well in the community. So this is the message for everybody. So these are the most important messages as well, that all persons must be fully aware of all the regulations and the laws based on intellectual property rights and protection. And at the same time, in the future we hope that those persons will provide the comprehensive and overall protection of the intellectual property rights of their projects and their patents. And at the same time, this will actually bring about good return for all of them in the long run. I would like to repeat my apology again for the technical problems that occurred. Thank you very much for this great moments as well. I would like to assure to you that most of our speakers today, all the speeches have been translated simultaneously as well in the channel, in our English channel. All of the speeches are being translated and interpreted as well. And anything that you want to know, or any inquiry, of course, we will welcome any inquiry. We will communicate with the people who will raise questions. So we extend our appreciation to most of our guests today. And Ms. Haifa, of course, now the last message that you're going to announce, Ms. Haifa. Ms. Haifa, are you following us? Once again, first of all, I would like to focus on the remarks that have mentioned by my colleagues, that intellectual property protection, of course, it's not only confined to the inventor, but in addition to protecting the patents as well, but it is the procedure that guarantees the products, the protection of the products, and the rights of the inventors, and it will be a great enablement, a great enhancement to the patents as well, and for most of the local projects as well. And this will have a great return on the GDP, and it will be a great opportunity for the foreign investors as well. Thank you very much. And for obtaining more funding through enhancing research centers. Thanks very much, Mr. Yasser, CEO of the Intellectual Property Protection. Of course, what's your final message, sir? We're looking forward to reaching a fulfillment of requirements of respecting the intellectual property in a way when we when we reach the level, the aspired level of the intellectual property protection and respect, and to sticking to all the rights and all the intellectual property and protection rights, to have a vital community and to give the opportunity to a vital community that is going to lead inventions and innovation and creativity in all cultural and industrial and social domains and fields as well. And this is going to be the path for all of us so as to achieve the vision of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia 2030. Thank you very much. And sir, we extend our appreciation to all of you. Most of our entrepreneurs are watching you, all of you, in enablement as well. Thank you very much. The final message, I invite all inventors, all creative minds to benefit from the services available and provided by the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property, so as to provide assistance as well, and at the same time we are looking forward to more questions and inquiries as well, so as to comply with the ecosystem in an integrated way, of course. And finally, and I hope that all of these regulations, services as well, and all these regulations, measures, and protective measures will enable us to get out of the ignorance and so as to achieve a great value to the community and distinguished viewers. Welcome. Thank you very much for watching us and following this virtual seminar about the violation of intellectual property, ignorant or intentional as well. Thanks very much, Mr. Mary, the CEO of the Intellectual Property Respect, Mr. Yasser the best as well for the Saudi for Intellectual Property Respect Departments, Haifa Al Fadl, Intellectual Property Specialist, Saudi Aramco, and Mr. Abdullah Al Ghamdi, law firm from Abdullah bin Abdul Salam Al Ghamdi for legal for intellectual property violation cases. And we will have you again in the second session. So the second session, of course, with Mr. Engineer Sami, the Deputy CEO and the Chairman of the Intellectual Property Resolution Dispute, and at the same time the Copyright Department. So Mr. Majid Al-Rafiq as well, he is the head of the Bike Technology and the Patent Office of GCC. Noura Al-Hakir, this is the head of the Publishing and the Patent Office of the GCC. And my final message in this session, and go to the website of the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property to see and to keep an eye on the service as well. And there is a page for reports as well in Arabic and English that contain a number of data and numerous information and data as well. And all the efforts that is done by the King of Saudi Arabia for many years as well, publishing and creating the value for all of this is going to be responsibility of everybody. We know that we say that respecting the intellectual property is a must.
There is a set of equipment that has some violations of the intellectual properties, and they're marketing those equipment with the low prices. So we need to fight such practices. With regard to this device, we are going to directly inspect this computer to make sure that the windows and the programs are original programs. So we're going through this inspection. We have confiscated some computers that have copied programs that is violating the intellectual properties, and we try to get them out of the market. During the inspection campaign, we have found some copied CDs and flashes, and in addition to copy equipment for CDs in the Eastern Province, we have found such violations. In the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate, we start the process. The Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property, in cooperation with the Ministry of Media, are taking important steps to go through the procedures of implementing and respecting intellectual properties in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Today we are destroying not with the traditional ways of destroying the violations of intellectual properties, but we do it with preserving the environment and not to have any negative impacts on the Saudi Arabian environment. I would like to thank my colleagues at the Ministry of Media, the Saudi Authority to Intellectual Properties, and the recycling company Tadweer, and we asking Allah the Almighty to give us guidance, and we're hoping that our society supplicate to Allah the Almighty to have our society respecting the intellectual property. In the name of Allah, most merciful, most compassionate, and peace be upon all of you. Welcome to our viewers through the platforms of social media, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. We'd like to welcome you in the symposium for the violations of intellectual property. Is it ignorance or intentional?
So it is ignorant or intentional, and of course, welcome to the second session. Of course, all our regulars give a lot of details as regards to violation of intellectual property, ignorant or intentional as well. So we have a number of specialists and experts as well, either from the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property or our partners from outside the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property. So let me welcome our guests as well for the second part of this. The second part of our seminar as well, Engineer Sam, the Deputy CEO for the policies of intellectual property and partnerships as well. Abu Turki, welcome Abu Turki to this important session. Of course, I would welcome Dr. Al-Hanouf Al-Dibasi, the CEO of the copyright, the copyright, and there are a lot of details as regards to the copyright. And most of the intellectual property violation, of course, goes and revolves around this important topic, the copyright. And we come to the Secretary General of the DSPH Sutton, Mr. Al-Hilan. Thank you very much for all. And for most of the people who are following us, we'll answer your question, of course, under this website or portal as well. You can write the question and we'll answer the question, of course. And in this seminar, of course, we have a number of partners as well. As I mentioned before, give warm welcome to Mr. Majid Arafat, the head of the pharmaceutical department and biotechnology. For the Patent Office of the GCC as well. Welcome, Mr. Majid. Thank you very much. Would like to welcome Ms. Noor Al-Hakir, head of the publishing and patent granting for the GCC. Welcome you all. I'd like to extend my appreciation to all of you for giving me this important question. I would like to thank you very much for your participation. And we have a message to communicate with the community, with the rest of all. And Mr. Al-Sudais, the question, of course, for example, is a violation of intellectual property ignorant or intellectual? This is a general question, of course, that might be subject to different interpretations. But of course, but within the frame of the frame, of course, if it is not ignorant, so the authority itself did its best so as to avoid the ignorant as well. So that's the reason why we'll launch a number of campaigns for raising the awareness of the policies of intellectual property that have been announced within the last couple of years, or as regards our students outside, of course, in addition to SMEs as well, in addition to the policies, the guidance, general policies that have been benefited by more than 35 government entities, publishing all the policies as well to partners as well. In addition, of course, preparing a number of policies, of course, related to the establishment and the very important strategic entities as well in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, taking into consideration the intellectual property policies, the policies as regards to the investor, foreign investor, and with the Ministry of the Industry and Mineral Resources as well, in addition to the policies for the universities, in addition to, and the focus mainly on the RD, and I think actually all of these policies in different level, of course, through which we are trying to provide all the components of the intellectual property for most of the users. And of course, certainly, as a matter of fact, any investment is based on a service or a product. Of course, we suppose that it's going to be protected by the intellectual property if we make sure that this hypothesis or supposition is correct, and that there is a protection or expired protection. Of course, we have policies that can deal with this issue, in addition to the other topics that I mentioned. Of course, I would like to add to this. We are working so hard so as to clarify the most important components of the intellectual property that will help the user to manage his file properly, so as to avoid the probability of the violation as well. So being ignorant or intentional as well. We'll try to avoid ignorance because that's not a justification. It's not justification to violate the rights. That's the reason why I recommend and advise all the related entities as well, all related entities in addition to the private sector, to have a look at what has been published as regards to the products and the services containing all the policies, to keep an eye on them and to benefit from them as well, and so as to provide consultation accordingly. So And of course, all of these services and processes, of course, are in the publication page as well. So you can just you can actually have a look at the policies of the intellectual property, and you can benefit from all of these policies as well. That has been the main constituent part of the intellectual property departments. And Dr. Hanofa, is it ignorant or intentional? This is a very important question. Is intellectual property violation ignorant intellectually as regards to the copyright, the author copyright? It can be actually ignorant or intellectual, but today is ignorant because it comes from their owners, the rights, the owners of the rights, and those of the copyright authors as well, and their negligence in protecting their rights and works as well. At the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property, they have the right to register. They have the option of registration as for the computer-based works or the other types of works as well. And this. So we try to provide them with our protection, such as violating the rights of the IP owners as well. Those who are targeting windfall profits. Those who are target windfall profits. So it might be two-sided issues. Well, ignorant and intentional. You might have some stories as regards the violation of intellectual property. We can tackle them here. But before I get to this point, of course, I might move to Mr. Al-Hilal as well, as regards the sanctions and, against the violators of intellectual property in case of being ignorant or intentional. So I think actually the first thing actually, as for the law point of view, that we cannot, of course, we can start with the ignorance after being published in a newspaper, official paper, and this is not the justification. So as to become a justification. So just publishing in the official papers, of course, this is going to be it's going to be a notification, and so because we cannot actually reach or we communicate every notification and inquiry to all the individuals, of course, this is that part of the legal law, but being ignorant of the law, but it wouldn't be a justification so as to keep them away from the accusation. So the violator will be responsible for the violation. So we might look at this within the leniency that the law provides. So here we can, I think, in most of the cases that have been referred to the courts as well and the commitments as well, many establishments as well in the private sector, they assign their rights and they don't have a direct following up with their affairs and with interests. Well, then they give this or authorize others to be in charge, and those people who are in charge of all the procedure or related issues as well of the company in the light or in the absence of the direct supervision of the owners. So this is related to the owner, of course, rather than the worker. So this is very important in principle as regards ignorance. This is actually assigning the rights of the owner of the as regards the copyrights right. Now, I want a percentage, sir. Based on the fact that you are in the secretariat and you have a number of committees as regards to the ADR for the intellectual property issues as well. So I want to ask, what's the most important field that has a high level of violation of the intellectual property? Individuals, they are ignorant. They have a high level of ignorance rather than the corporate. Why? Because corporates are based on the will and achieving profits or creating profit as well. And this is one of the things that you put a question mark in front or before with the beginning phase of the startup. Sometimes cases come from the unrelated violation of the copyright, and it came from the media authorities or media companies as well that are responsible for sticking to the rights of the intellectual property of the owner of so of course we see intentional here. That's the thing. So ignorance could be seen in individuals, those who are juniors or persons who are sort of simple, so who seem to be more ignorant as well. I mean it's a knowledge ignorant of the not the regulation, the ignorance of the regulation as well. I might go back to Mr. Majid Arfay. Mr. Majid as well, and you are the head of the biotechnology departments of the examinations patents office of the General Secretariat of the GCC, and of course course, you might have a number of problems that you faced before as regards to the revelation of the intellectual property in pharmaceutical or pharmaceutical department and pharmaceutical related cases, or it's just like in
بلا شك لكن في
biotechnology.
البداية
Yes, undoubtedly.
أحيي
At the beginning, of
الأخوة
course, I would like to extend my appreciation to all my
أقدم الشكر الجزيل
my
للمسؤولين في
colleagues,
الهيئة
my colleagues, and
على
all,
جهودهم
and all the
الملموسة
officials in the
تنظيم
Saudi
هذه
Authority for
الندوة
organizing such important virtual
وتعتبر
seminar,
طبعا هي من
which is
الجهود
which is
الملموسة في
considered
مشروع
one of the most important initiatives
التوعية في
that can
المجتمع.
serve the project of
طبعا
activating this topic in the community and
الانتهاكات
activating and raising the
يعني
awareness
في
of this
مستوى
importance as well.
العالم
As we know all the trend or
نسمع
the
كل
approach
فترة
in such
حالات انتهاك
regard,
فيما يخص
we always hear a
الأدوية.
violation here and there as regards to drugs and
طبعا
and
السبب
medicaments as well.
طبعا
Main
كلا
reason because
الاحتمالين
we have a probabilities here. We but probably have two
اللي هم
things
أو
here to
موجودة اللي هم
analyze through
الجهل أو التعدي.
through which is
لكن
violation comes from ignorance or in intention or
أقل سوءا هو
but
وله أسبابه.
and it has reasons for that. As regards drugs, for instance, who are the dispute and parties in dispute? Who are the parties in dispute or the conflict parties? The conflict parties or the dispute parties there are two parties, and the first
صاحب الحق
is the right, the owner of the right, the owner,
وهي طبعا
and between two brackets, the violator is the other party.
المالكة لبراءة
And
الاختراع
of course, the owner of the patent,
الأدوية.
the,
الطرف الآخر فهو
and the owner of the patent of the drug,
الأمريكية.
and the other party could be seen
وعادة
through
ما يكون شركات
who is the
الأدوية
violator,
الجنيسة
who the violator,
سواء طبعا كانت شركات محلية
either
أو
local
دولية.
or international companies. Mr. Majid, before I go to Noura Al Hakir, and I would like to thank you very much, Ms. Noura, for having you with us today. I want to ask you, is the intellectual property important to our life? After asking our main question, is it ignorant or intellectual based type of violation? Of course, thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I'm very happy to be with you and to share with you such important topics as well. Is intellectual property very important in our lives? Yes, it's very important, substantially important. Being the creativity of the human brain, either literary inventions, patents, or computer applications, or any other literary works like books, authoring books, or commercialization or marketing, and the spread of this culture of the intellectual property of the owner of the patent as well. The main cause is to encourage him to continue and to go on this. And to provide protection of the intellectual property protection for the authors as well, if he's fully aware, if he's fully aware of the rights that intellectual property provides protection for, and because or any of the patent granting or the trademark, and this, so when there is protection for all of these things, of course, here comes the awareness of comes the subject or the concept of awareness, raising awareness to raise the awareness of the owner of the patents. And in my office, my department, most of the inventors as well, or the owners of the patents, they were very afraid to send their patents at the office, being an office that takes or receives the patents as well. So we're afraid to send their patents to our office. So why? Because we are protecting them. We provide protection as well. So they don't know that we're protecting these patents as well. As mentioned by my colleagues before, and the owner of a trademark, the owner trademark might be patent, which is not registered. When he is successful and when he goes to register, he discovers that has been registered by other people or by other persons. So it's very important to raise the awareness of the intellectual property culture and to focus and emphasize its importance in all sectors and for all individuals and university students as well, being responsible for the intellectual property. We are doing our best to spread the culture of intellectual property in the community with our family members at the workplace everywhere. We need to raise the awareness of the intellectual property everywhere. Now, of course, sir, based on this important topic, which is based on raising the awareness of the intellectual property, do you think that will this mitigate the level of ignorance as regards to intellectual property in the community? Yes, certainly. Of course, the high level, the more level we have as regards raising awareness in the community, will avoid creating ignorance in the community. But I don't think that nobody will differ with me that there's going to be something probably will happen, but the increasing the activities of raising the awareness and in educational institutions, and even for the juniors, for all individuals, even to the users, the owners, decision makers. This will reduce the probability of the violation, ignorant or intentional, and of course intentionally violated behaviors are very little. Dr. Al-Hanoufani, what about the beneficiaries? What about the users of such intellectual property rights as well? Who can, for example, who can have the right to register his right as well, so as not to be violated, for his right not to be violated. The beneficiaries, of course, differ from one intellectual property to another intellectual property. The owners of companies, the businessmen, the SMEs are the most beneficiaries. As regards the patents as well, the inventors and the creative inventors the patent inventors are the most beneficiaries, and poets are artists as well. So the copyrights as well, copyright touches all the classes of the community. Perfect. And I might go back to Abu Ibrahim. So the copyright could be a very big field that is used by the person who practices business, or the person does not practice any business as well. What is your message here in this context as well, as regards the persons who are I'm talking about the inventors, I talk about the creative people, the photographers, males or artists, painters, those who are really working within the last couple of years, facing violations and being violated. Their rights are violated. And sometimes they attribute and say that those violators, that the violators say that we saw these paintings, we saw in a good place and want to express our admiration. So this is what the violators say. The first defense line as regards protecting the rights of the author is the author himself. The author is the one who protects his rights as well, by knowing the importance of what he has as the intellectual property and its impact on the society or the economy. This is one thing. On one hand, on the other hand, of course, he can play an important role in communicating with the related entities and at the Saudi authorities, so as to start protecting the work of the intellectual property, either through restoration of the intellectual property according to the procedures, and facing the persons who violated by the department which is responsible for the intellectual property protection, and as regards the ignorance, and of course this justification comes from the lack of awareness of the regulations as well, that come from as regards the legal entities or the entities that are responsible for the regulations as well. Sometimes if we don't find a name under this work which is published in the internet and by making sure that this person is not going to benefit from the intellectual property. As you said, Your Excellency CEO, intellectual property is just like any property, like real estate, like a car. In any day, you can see a car on the road, and then you can take it just because it doesn't have a name or you don't know the owner of this car. Of course, the same thing applies to intellectual property and the rights of the copyright of the author as well, which is overspread and spread just because the intellectual property or the picture is very common in the internet. This gives the right to the person or the violators to use it, and this is not right. This is the role of one role of the Saudi authority, so as to follow all of these violations as well, which is going to enable the beneficiaries and the users to benefit from it legally and in a regular manner. Mr. Tariq Arafeg as well, and as regards the violations of the patents, as regards of drugs and medicaments as well, Mr. Majid. But what are the causes? What are the causes as regards to the violations? the validations in drugs? And what about the role of the pharmaceutical companies or the health companies related to this issue?
فيما يخص
As regards
الأسباب
the causes and
أنه
reasons,
الاحتمال
and one thing we can take into consideration
اللي هو
here,
الجهل
ignorance,
فهو طبعاً
of course, no,
الوعي
and the level of awareness as well, societal
أو
awareness,
الطرف المنتهك
and this is one party of the one of the validators as well, and by not making sure that this is based on the intellectual property rights as well, and
طبعا وهذا طبعا
and of course. This is a shortcoming. This is shortcoming, and this is carelessness, a lack of care and of the company. And what has the company to do is to withdraw its product from the market and to suspend their subscription to chamber of commerce as well, and getting into legal cases and compensations as well. For huge compensation must be come up at the end. So, as regards the roles of our department.
الصوت واضح؟
Is my voice clear?
طبعا فيما يخص
As regards
السؤال الثاني
the second question, the second part of the question,
الأدوار
as for the roles, the entitled roles, and that we are responsible for
نعم
this, our department or the office.
الجهة الصحية
And
المعنية بتسجيل الأدوية هي الهيئة العامة للغذاء والدواء.
Of course, this Saudi DFA, Drugs and Food Authority, is responsible for this, clarifying all the procedures and measures well for protecting the health products. And this initiative, of course, will help a lot to limit the violation cases and of course, and it has been launched as a draft, but officially it has not been announced. And of course, clarified all the preventive measures and protective measures, of course, as regards to the health products. And this is based on the initiative of the health entity, which is responsible for the registration of the drug, which is the Saudi Drug and Food Authority, in addition to other parties of the conflict, such as the companies in dispute. Of course, as for the procedures and measures, they take place in different levels, in different phases as well, such as providing all the information regarding the patents, which are provided to the Saudi Drug and Food Authority, in addition to the commitment that comes from making sure that there has been a fulfillment of the intellectual property rights, which are going to be published by the authority, and by making sure that there's no violation of using this drug or the request or application for registering the product. In addition to other roles as well, such as the in-kind procedures and measures as well, so to make sure of the accuracy of the information that have been provided to the authority. In addition, to showing any objection to the data that has been provided to the authority, in this regard, you can say something else through the committee of the membership reviewing as regards to the violations that have been provided to the authority as well, considering the patent company that is going to be referred to the committee in case if there is a violation, or as regards the patent offices. The patent offices are not only a party, are not one of the party of the dispute, of course, but they have multiple roles that can limit and mitigate the cases of violation of intellectual property as regards in providing the available information based on the patents and for the public, and providing services for the corporate services for searching the applications of the drugs and the projects, in addition to the other patents offices that provide additional services of accelerating the examination measures of some of the applications regarding the medical products, which are subject to an illegal controversy, or legal
أمام
dispute
جهات
before the
قضائية.
courts. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Majid. Now I come back to Abu Turki once again as regards, and now we have a number of issues as well to discuss today, but we want a message. One final message for most of the people who are watching right now as regards to the intellectual property respect. What's your message that really you send an individual or corporate, even establishment oriented with intellectual property? I always related to the impact, economic impact, and of course taking into account that having a file that managed the intellectual property at the corporate or SMEs or even at the entity, the public entity or the private sector. Once we have a management to manage this file of the intellectual property, will enhance the opportunities inside the entity, and it will enhance the respect of the intellectual property that will result in legalizing all the opportunities of the violation of intellectual property. I think that this is a very important issue, and within the coming few years, we will enhance the common work and joint work with the Saudi authority. Dr. Hanouf as well, what's your final message? First of all, I would like to send a message to the individuals of the community and not to the government entities, because it has been referred to this point before. My message to the individuals of the community is to raise the awareness, promoting awareness, because it's very important to know the rights of the individuals as regards to the copyright of the author, and the awareness, and in the first and second and third place, and of course protecting this in case there is a violation. There are legal authorities who you can refer to. At the same time, asking for compensations. The compensations might reach to closing the business or the activity as well. So do not be careless as regards raising the awareness as well. This is very important. This is the mission. This is the responsibility of the community as regards raising the awareness of the intellectual property respect in the community. It's not only the responsibility of the Saudi authority for intellectual property. Everybody share. We are all partners. Now we come to Mr. Al-Hayyan. You have a number of cases of sensitive files. You have sensitive cases as well. What is your final message here? My concluding message is that most of the owners' rights owners must authenticate their contractual works between the beneficiary and the owner of the work as well, so as to avoid any conflicts as well that will result in disputes, referring all of these to the courts as well, and we have to take into consideration the regulation of protecting the rights of the author as well, and to authenticate the relationship, the contractual relationship between the two parties as well. This message will overcome all the controversial disputes that will end the violation of the intellectual property. Ms. Noor Al-Hakir, as a concluding message as well, we have a number of issues to raise as well. We are still enjoying everything that you've said in this seminar. What is the final message in this seminar that you conclude our session as well for most of the people who are following us as a specialist in intellectual property? My message is given to every owner of activity, every creative mind, either in the copyright, authors, inventor, trademark, owner of a startup, and you have to go on, you have to register your idea, your patents as well, to protect them. And for the community as well, any person in the community, any individual in the community, before he sees a picture and takes it and then put it as a post on the internet as well, he has to make sure of taking the approval from the owner of the painting, of the picture as well, so as to keep the rights of the owner of this work, so as to have a societal awareness, a full societal awareness of the importance of intellectual property rights and protecting them. Thank you very much, Noor Al-Hakir, the head of publishing and patent office, and the GCC as well. Would like to extend my appreciation to Mr. Arafat and the head of the Department of Pharmacy and Biotechnology of the GCC patent office. I would like to extend my appreciation to Mr. Sami Al-Hayyan, for CEO of the policies of the intellectual property, Dr. Misnouf, the CEO of the copyright. department. Thank you very much, all. I would like to extend my appreciation to all of you, our dear viewers, as well, for every person has followed the intellectual property issue as well. You are a part and an indivisible part of the awareness of communication, integration, and communication, and awareness as well. I would like to extend my appreciation to everybody who is interested in the intellectual property since it was established by the Saudi authority. In all creativity-related issues as well, we receive a number of messages as well in the social media, and even Twitter, and those who are communicating with us through our accounts or the accounts of the Saudi authority as well for intellectual property. We need to watch them. We need to learn from. We need to benefit from as well. This place is yours. This platform is your platform. We want you to participate with us, share with us all your thoughts. We want to stand as one voice as regards the awareness of the community regarding the intellectual property. We want to emphasize the fact that Saudi Arabia is one of the countries that respects intellectual property, and certainly all the creative minds, all the trademarks owners, all the patents as well owners will are over increasing numbers, and within the coming few years will be more and more. But with your support, with the communication, direct communication with the Saudi authorities, we will be very grateful. This seminar is for you and from you, and it will be broadcasted on the platform of the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property in YouTube, via YouTube and Instagram, and even via the website as well. It was going to be available after finishing this seminar. It will be available on all platforms, and we will be provided with all the related issues of intellectual related property, intellectual property as well and we will be following with you in the future, being very closer to one another. We'll be with you. We'll be side by side. We'll be side by side with you. Thank you very much, and see you later. Thank you.